in studio right now is the former mayor in the city of Utica, David Roefaro. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, fellas.
How are things? I'm anticipating this. We've all been anticipating. What is your take on the upcoming mayor's race, which, by the way, a lot will be determined in this Democratic primary. Many believe that this will determine the winner of the next mayor.
Well, I'm sure. Well, I came today because I heard that you couldn't get a mayor on here, so I said, let me come.
And what are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on that? Thank you for that.
That's the first thing. Well, you know what? When somebody doesn't want to come on a program, you know, they always say, if you can't say anything good, then don't say it. Don't come on. And you can't get hurt if you don't say anything.
Right.
And that's the bottom line. And that's kind of a little disheartening because, you know what? We're supposed to be transparent. That's not transparency. You know, that's not being truthful. And I just think that you should come on.
He does say, we reached out yesterday again. We don't ever stop reaching out. You have to keep reaching out. And he claims it's because that I, in full disclosure, was hired by Marino's campaign to do his commercials. But I have to tell you, I do feel bad for Joe Marino because we bring him on and we feel that the right thing to do is to pepper him with questions. If he comes up with something, oftentimes we challenge it. And Marino's coming on here pretty much every week, and we grill him, and the mayor's not getting that same treatment. And I do feel that's unfair.
Sure
but
is.
Joe is not backing away. I mean, oftentimes, you know, I would think that he doesn't want to talk on certain things. But he does, and I'm sorry that I have to give him credit for.
Listen, when you answer the hard questions, I mean, you got to give somebody credit for that. When you don't want to answer the hard questions, there's something behind it, and that's because you can't answer the hard questions. You know, I always say, listen, not everybody does everything wrong.
Right.
You know, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he can't get everything wrong, but. You know, you asked me about my take. You know, I was invited here, and I've kept pretty quiet for the last 8 years. You know, I haven't really said too much.
I do want to clarify. Were you invited? Did we invite Dave, or did
somebody reached out to us
and it said you ought to have Dave on? Okay, fair enough. I don't want to think because it'll be a conspiracy that
no conspiracy.
I put this one together.
No,
Yeah.
I can't even remember who asked me.
Okay.
I try to stay out of it. And in fact, people say, well, why do you get involved? It's because, you know what? We are involved. We live here.
Yeah.
That's why I was mayor, because I'm involved. You know, and the same people ask me why I'm involved, and it's because they're reaping some of the benefit that's through this administration somehow, some way, you know. And, you know, it just bothers me that nobody speaks their mind. And, you know, I see some of the commercials that are being made by some of the people, and those same very people will tell me, no, you know, we're really not for him, but we had to make the commercial. I go, oh my God! So
it seems as if you're coming out against Mayor Palmieri,
well, you know,
and you're saying that those people you've spoken to people that are in his commercials that say they really don't support him. They're there because they have no choice.
They have no choice. But you know what? Listen, I'm not here to do a bashing for
would you name those people?
Mayor. No, never,
okay.
Never.
All right.
But I'm going to say this is that, you know, listen, he's done 8 years, and whatever he's done, he's done, and you know, it's time to move on. You know, this third term thing. You know, this started with Mayor Bloomberg. Okay, he actually set the precedent for this. And I don't know if most people know this.
Yeah.
So when you take what the people voted for way back when, and then you overturn it with your council, you know, that's wrong.
Did he overturn it in New York City?
He did.
He did. Because Rudy Giuliani tried to.
Yeah.
Because he felt that a transition during 9/11 and the aftermath would have been a mistake, and of course he left office just three months after 9/11. But then Bloomberg did it. I guess I'd forgotten about that. Didn't pay attention.
He did it. And he was a great mayor. Right? You know, and listen, New York has never looked so good, especially when Mayor Bloomberg was there. But you know, listen, this is a different time, different place. I mean, we're a smaller city, same problems, but just a smaller city.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I do believe. Listen, you know.
You come out against? Are you coming out for Joe Marino?
I'm for Joe Marino.
Okay,
I'm going to vote for Joe Marino because I think it's time for a change. I think that Joe's got fresh ideas. He holds, an accounting degree. He's a pretty bright guy, And I believe that, listen, you stay so long, okay, and then you move on.
All right. Manansky.
A couple quick things. One, some people might forget this. I'm sure you haven't. Yeah. Rob Palmieri worked for you.
Yes.
You fired him at one point. Whatever went wrong there? What did he do wrong to get fired? And then he ended up running and then replacing. I know you didn't run that year, but was the next mayor after you. So some thoughts on what went wrong there? Why'd you fire Rob Palmieri?
Well, I'm quite honestly, I'm not going to get into the reasons why I fired him or whatever like that. That was yesterday. In fact, he's been mad at me ever since. But the bottom line is that was yesterday. That was something that I felt as mayor that I had to do to move the city forward. Now, ironically, he runs and becomes mayor, and that's listen, that's the American way. That's just the way it is. But you know what? I reached out to him when he first won, and I tried to help him and tried to tell him, this is where you go get the money. See, and that's my biggest thing. He doesn't know where to go get the money. And I got to tell you something, he's gotten lucky because when he's taken over, when I was there was a newspaper article. They used to ride me every day for how many years,
Right.
And I don't think he's got a bad article written.
Can you explain where he has to go to get the money? Because there are previous administrations that would have been going business to business to get the money.
No.
Let's there are stories from Utica prior to
bring that woodshed
prior to your administration. So can you explain what you mean by that?
Okay, I will. I'll give you an example. The paving. Now, if you go back and look, I went to the federal government when I needed extra paving, and I've got millions in extra paving. I didn't go do a paving project of $3 million, okay, that's going to be footed by the taxpayers like we're doing now, okay? Now, the council did it because they had to do it because the mayor doesn't know how to go get that money. But I went and got millions and millions of dollars because there's a lot of roads in Utica that are deemed federal roads. So federal roads get paid for with federal funds. Now, that's one division of it.
Is that how you did the roundabout in Oneida Square?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The roundabout was $3.5 million of all federal money. Somebody told me one day, and they said, well, it's still tax dollars. It's federal. I go, listen, let's not be naive. The bottom line is that if Utica doesn't get the money, it's going somewhere else.
I will tell you, I saw over at Daylight Donuts the former mayor, and I said, "Oh, that roundabout is just ridiculous." And boy, did I get an earful!
You were just the last person to say it.
Listen, I'm going to say that. I'm not saying this just because you're here. I love that.
I do too.
I used to get stuck at that Oneida Square. And it was like 5 ways, and you'd be sitting at the light for 3 minutes.
I have completely come around on roundabouts. I think they are safer. They really are safer.
Keeps you moving.
They've been proven. Yeah. Listen, we did our homework for 2 years,
right.
And I took a beating in the newspaper when we wanted to do this, but we did it for 2 years. But we held neighborhood meetings there. We did all kinds of things, and a lot of the merchants there were really aggravated when we were doing it. But when it was done, every one of them came to us and said, "You know what? It's better." And I said, you know what? Just change for the sake of change is not good. But when change is going to make it better, then you've got to go do it. And they work everywhere else.
What do you say to someone who says? I mean, if you look at the mayor's current commercial, it's business people that are saying we moved here. The mayor made it possible for us. All the things that are happening in the city. Let's keep things going, keep Mayor Palmieri. That's the message right now.
Well, let me just say this. And I don't start out with an F for any mayor. Anybody that runs, you'll start out with a D with me because just to be in the race and just to put up with it, you get a D you get a D and you go up from there.
Right.
Okay. That's the way I believe. I could tell you that, and I don't know how to say this, but I'm just going to be point blank about it. We started the resurgence in our administration of downtown. We set the stage for just about everything that's going on down there. The hotels, the North Utica hotels in the harbor. I mean, we did the harbor, but since I left, they've dropped the ball. They put an entranceway into nowhere. I mean, they haven't finished anything. There's now one project that they've actually finished or started on their own. So, but by doing nothing, and this is an old thing in politics, well, you know what? If you can't say that you didn't do anything bad, that's a good thing for the candidate. But what good things have happened? And the good things that have happening, the good things that have happened.
There are a lot of good things that have happened.
But it hasn't been anything by this administration. It's by the county executive, Pacenti. all of the auditorium and the Nexus Center, and Rabesh has done that, and everybody else has done it, but it reflects on them. When the Comets first were going to come here, he was against the Comets.
Right.
Most people don't remember that, and so then he takes credit because the Comets are successful. Most of the things that are good, he was against, and that's okay.
What else was he against that was a positive?
Oh
city?
gosh,
Some people hear this and they say, the ex-mayor comes on. He says all the good things that are going on, I laid the groundwork for. The stuff that's dead-ended, I laid the groundwork for, and he dropped the ball.
And I was just going to say that. And not everything, because, listen, we can't do everything right either.
Right.
And that's why I said, how am I going to say this? And I said, well, let me just say it. But the harbor was a big thing. And we have National Grid under a $100 million consent order when we were there. We cleaned up millions and millions of dollars worth of waste, but they let the ball drop. That's a big thing for Utica, the harbor.
Do you feel that we've kind of my criticism of the harbor is that we've just taken whatever we can get. It's kind of created a wall where you don't get to see the water. And I thought they were going to open that all up, and you were going to be able to see water.
If we stayed, that's what we were going to do.
Yeah.
And actually, I offered to help with that project when I left office. I offered to help, but they refused my help. But, the bottom line is that I think that we need new blood. The people voted for term limits. And now you change the term limits for what? Really, for what?
Well,
you've served your 8 years. Now let's move on. Okay, you'll get your pension. Maybe your pension will be a little bit better when you leave if you stay another 4 years. But that's not the real reason to stay. Let's get some new blood in there. Let's get some new things going on. And quite honestly, I don't believe that he's done everything bad. But I got to tell you something. All he's done, and I haven't said this in 8 years. And I don't say anything. People say, geez, he's been bashing you for how many years about finances, how you left the finances. Well, you know what? From 2008 to 2012, if you go look, it was the worst recession since the 1920s.
Right.
Okay? And we still paid all of our bills. We got through the hard times. I paid all the bills, got through the hard times. And we did, projects like the harbor, projects like the roundabout, other projects, paving projects. But you know what? Since 2012, he's been there for 8 years. We've been flush with money. The economy's been booming, and there's billions of dollars out there. They should be building skyscrapers in Utica. Now, all of these businesses that are coming on to the news, well, guess what? That's great. That's wonderful. But you know what? How many of them are getting tax-free for 10 or 20 years? How many of them are buying properties cheap, getting tax-free? Well, guess what? I would love it, too, if I were them.
Right.
But, does it really, really help the city? Does it really, really help the city? Now, okay, maybe we do those projects. Maybe they're good projects, bad projects, indifferent. Doesn't make any difference. But what about the people that have been struggling, that have been here for years? Where's their help, And that's what I keep on saying. You know what? You've done your time. Thank you for your time. Now it's time to go. Because does everybody remember the streets? Look at the streets. They're the worst ever. And you want to talk about crime. There's more crime. We had a 7-year-old that got shot last week. Does anybody think of these things? There's more gunshots fired in the last 8 years than ever before. Crime is running rampant.
I appreciate your time. And former Mayor of Roefaro, thanks so much for... At least we got a mayor. I do appreciate it. We got a mayor. So thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time.